G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with the next round of the FIA Nations Cup for 2021 to the 2022 season. We find ourselves back in Top Split. I don't know what I'd do without that warm-up. But this combination, it's a familiar one. It's a redo of what we had only about 6 months ago, less than 6 months ago. Autopolis shortcut course in Group 4. This is the first qualifying lap. I thought I'd get a nice tow off the back of Corey, but unfortunately I don't think he's quite as practiced as me, and I've run into the back of him going through turn 1, so I know that this lap is going to go nowhere if I remain behind Corey for the rest of it. So I back out of the lap, let everyone go past, and there's a massive train of cars, so I'm stuck on the outside of turn 3 for exactly 2,000 years, waiting for everyone on their hot lap to go past, because I don't want to come back onto the track and impact people on hot laps, of course. So we just have to round out and complete that lap, and finally go for a hot lap of ours. So we've exited the final corner. I mean, that particular hot lap there is a 111.3, probably 2 to 3 tenths shy of what I was actually able to achieve. But coming into turn 1, looking on the left hand side and braking just after the orange paint on the barrier, and then make sure you get it stopped and rotated for turn 1. Very important corner, this one. Coming up through turn 2, easy flat. Turn 3, looking on the left-hand side, just after the little access road to the marshal post. On the left-hand side, eye mask has gone off, the car ahead of me has gone off, and then just modulating the throttle through here, using the curb to help get a turn and brake before the end of the curb on the right. Through the hairpin, just nice and slow, get the car rotated and start to get back on the power up through the long left hand, and now turning in just halfway along the curb on the right hand side, lift off the throttle and meet the apex, because that curb on the inside can really rotate the car. We get a pretty shock and run through there. The car did not rotate like I needed it to, but we're just going to have to go with it. And up towards the second last corner, braking on the last arrow board on the left hand side. It's over a crest, so you got to be really careful to keep the car under control, and the final turn is really, you just hop over the final turn, really. It's not anything. Up across the line, 111.2, a 1.5 tenth improvement, so I guess that's alright. I'm not that unhappy with that. Okay, that's alright. Qualifying 8th in Top Split, I will take that any day of the week. So we're going to meet on the grid now, and as you can see, it is a standing start with false start check. So you've got to make sure you hold your brake or hold your handbrake and do not release it until the 5 lights go out. So traction control we do need in this McGann Trophy, which we're driving. I haven't even mentioned that. Renault Sport McGann Trophy. And some other good cars in the Alfa Romeo and the Subaru. We get an awesome start. We're immediately got some overlap on side door. We've got nowhere else to go but the left-hand side, which is unfortunately the outside for turn 1. And as you can see down on the radar, it's 4 wide coming into turn 1. And as we're just getting muscled out on the outside, and everyone's just moving out. And I'm the one on the outside. I'm the one that gets shafted all the way to the back of the grid. Oh, for f***'s sake. Yeah, not happy with that one. A little bit of colourful language. I do sometimes let out a little bit of poor language when something happens, because I find it's a healthy or healthier way to let out the frustration. Some other people like to start ramming and stuff, and that's a very unhealthy way to do it, but for me, I just like to do it. Okay, let's do some overtaking, I suppose. I just like to do it as a healthy way to get the frustration out, and I'm in the comfort of my own home, so that's why we go for that. But moving swiftly onwards, we immediately have a change in mindset. It goes from a race just minimising errors to now a really, really aggressive race where we're overtaking. We do have PX7 Tazar ahead of us, so good mates with him, I suppose. And we're going to try and work together up the grid here because Tez definitely has the pace to be way up the front, as do I. We both actually had quite similar race pace on our own, so it made the most sense to me to try and take advantage of Tez a little bit and use the slipstream and we sort of help each other, use each other to try and move up the grid place by place, one at a time. Now, the thing with Oceania top split is everyone gets all a bit swindled out on the outside of that turn 10 there. As we're heading down the main straight, we're going to have some slipstream and... Oh, someone's off the track on the left, I think. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's more people off.
Oh, what's going on
here?
here?
And it looks like Metal Gear's gone rogue. He's obviously not had the race he wanted and's taken his frustration out on everyone else. That's what I was talking about before. I don't like to do that. I would rather just, you know, swear a little bit and get over it. But yeah, obviously that's not the right way to deal with it. McDoulan cuts me off coming into turn 3. Absolutely no chance of me getting a return move on that, so that is no good for us. And I've now been separated from Tez, which is no good. Mick almost looks to send down the inside of Tez. He runs it a little bit deep into the hairpin, but we get through there all good. So we're just going to be looking to get past this Subaru. I'm having a tough time through that long left-hander of turn 8. McDoulan leaves the door open a little bit. Another little bit of argy-bargy at the second to last corner, and Tez is on the inside. Lovely Unicorn, who's been shuffled out of the slipstream train. McDoulan moves across and just allows Lovely to get back into the slipstream train. So now I've got 2 cars between myself and Tez. I'm not quite sure what Mick's doing moving out of the slip there, and he's almost opened up the inside. On another day, I maybe could have gone for that, and I get a shocking turn 1, just getting unsettled by running into the back of the Subaru up ahead, and it allows Ghost Driver and Atom both to get themselves past. Atom also falling victim to a little bit of a turn 1 incident, so he's fighting from the back as well. So both myself, Atom and Tez have all had shocking starts, which is no good at all. But at least I've got at least I've got Atom in front of me now, so I can try and work with him a little bit. I've also got another mate, Lovely Unicorn, in 12th, so hopefully we can at least have an okay race with him. But on the exit of the long left-hander, Lovely gets a little bit wide. Atom has a look in around the outside, and I can see the inside open, and I'm gaining in slipstream, so I go for the inside, but completely miss the braking point. Oh, and I've just taken someone out. Oh, I'm so sorry. You idiot, mate! That's rookie! I don't know what to say. I got tunnel vision, I suppose, and tried to get a 2-for-1 done at the final turn, but I didn't really think that my brake boards were going to be obscured, and they were, and yeah, absolutely wrecked it. So now I've got a race from the back. We overtook McDoulan, who just drove off the track just ahead of us. So we are up 1 position at least. We've caught back up to this little battle, which includes Cyclone Dan, Ghost Driver and Lovely Unicorn. So I'm looking at, in this particular situation, with only 4 laps to go, I get 2 moves done at turn 1, so a little bit awkward there. I think Cyclone Dan went to go for a move on Ghost Driver, and they both just sort of washed wide. So I've got 2 positions done, and I'm looking around the outside of Lovely Unicorn at turn 3 now, but he just leaves me enough road.
Oh, beautiful defence.
But not quite enough room to actually make the move work. So he's defended that beautifully, gets it stopped square at the hairpin. No way I can get through there either. So the next opportunity I have is probably the final turn. As long as I get a good run through this long left-hander now, and I do actually get that okay, get a lot of ground onto Lovely Unicorn, onto his back bumper, so that Subaru just suffering with a little bit of understeer through there. He defends to the inside at the final turn, so that's fair enough to do. I'm going to try and hang it around the outside, but the road just drops away from me, and I'm not able to get that done, so we just fall in behind him again. We don't quite get an overlap with Cyclone Dan, so I can move back over in front of him to grab the slipstream off Lovely Unicorn, who's just going on a slight defence, but he doesn't quite move it all the way over to the right to just fend me off from doing a move. I've got Cyclone Dan looking down my inside, but I break the latest out of everyone, and I get up the inside of Lovely Unicorn and defend from Cyclone Dan at the same time, in what was a lovely little move, if I do say so myself.
Beautiful racing, that. That's what I want.
So quite pleased with that little exchange there, and that's about the best amount of racing I could have expected, I suppose, from this combination, given what happened at the start. We skipped to the end.
Oh my. It's so embarrassing. I'm so sorry, mate.
It's got to be a 12th. We had a good race in there, but it's just tainted by the fact that I took someone out like it was my first day, and it's clearly not. I should not be making those kinds of errors on the level that I am. I apologised in the lobby after and sent him a nice message to just apologise and explain what happened, and he was nice enough about it. So I guess that's all I can be grateful for, that he didn't hold a grudge against me, and we can just move on. I admitted my error, said it was my fault, and he said, okay, no worries. But obviously I wasn't going to settle on that 170 odd point result, because that first slot was a bit of a mess up and down the field. There was carnage at the front, carnage at the first lap, carnage at the last lap, and then one idiot in the mid-pack who decides to completely miss their braking point. That's me, by the way. So we're going to have to move on to the next slot, and what I wanted to do is grab a slipstream off somebody who I knew was actually going to be decent, and that was Tez. Actually, no, I was slowing down to give Tez the tow because I wanted him and I to be up the front together. I qualified better on my own, Tez could qualify better in the slipstream, so we slow down and give him a little bit of a tow, take a nice wide entry to get a fast exit, so we get a good run down the straight here, and this is going to be the qualifying lap. Here, as we exit onto the straight. Tez has got the slip, so he's going to be getting a helping hand through and down the straight. I'm going to be a little bit better in the corners because I don't have the dirty air washing over the car, but Tez is actually in the Alfa Romeo 4C, which is actually a very good handling car, and you can see by the end of this lap we're 1/10 purple, but through the final turn we get a little bit unsettled, and check out my brake. I was not touching the brake at this point, and look, it just goes on to about 25% and hangs there, and that lap ends up being an 11.5. So that is no good. Tez goes past because obviously I slowed down.
No.
My brake just denying me of what probably would have been a purple lap, at least at the time. So Tez is now ahead of me, which is not the formation I wanted, because Tez needed the slip for the straights and I didn't want it at all. But coming down across the line, we've hardly got enough time for 2 more laps, so I think this is actually going to be my last lap here. So we've got a good tow down the straight, but I'm just catching Tez too quickly. The McGann Trophy much better down the straight than Tez in that Alfa Romeo, but he actually wrecks turn 1, doesn't quite get the car stopped, runs off wide, and then I'm able to get past with minimal time loss, to be fair. Now we're going to be heading up towards the first sector split. We're 1.5, or near enough 1.5 tenths up. Brake very early for turn 3 by accident, so I've already probably lost all that time. We're going to follow on with this lap at least, try and get it stopped for the hairpin, get it rotated nice and smoothly. You probably don't really want to touch that curb on the inside like that, because it just unsettles the car ever so slightly and you can't get square on the power and the car doesn't grip up properly. We get a nice run through the long left-hander, make sure we're going at least 160 k's by the end of that first curb on the exit of the corner, and you know you've done that. Okay, we're going to be heading up to the second sector split. We're 1/10 down, but remember we wrecked the final turn in the run up to the line, so it's going to be a big time gain as long as we avoid doing all of that. We get the last turn okay, and then heading up to the line, there's no brake input to report of. It's a 1:11.299, and that qualifies us in 6th.
Yuck.
Not happy with that one. I really probably should have qualified a little bit better. Having a look at that, I probably could have qualified in 3rd without too much trouble. But finally, let's enjoy the Nations Cup introduction. Lovely as always, we meet ourselves on the grid once again for a standing start. Pole position taken out by Meta 7 Gear TX3 GTR, taking out the second position on the front row. As for us, 6th, not the best. I really should have qualified a little bit higher. I was easily putting in 0.1s just on a whim. Like I could just go out and put in a 0.1. So the fact that quali was essentially a 0.3, I really wasn't happy with that. With the start now, Meta 7 Gear going for a bit of an unconventional car choice, a front engine, front wheel drive, Megane Group 4, so the non-trophy version. He gets a very poor start from the pole position. He's trying to just squeeze in the gap between myself and Tez, and he doesn't quite lose another position from Yoda, who comes in just ahead of me. So Tez and I have been separated by a couple of cars now. Meta 7 Gear, the pole sitter, very good that car will be in quali, and in the race it'll probably be a little bit of a problematic car to race against because it's going to have much better straight line speed. But Tez finds himself ahead of Meta 7 at this particular stage, so he's in a very good position to just streak away with the podium. I'm unfortunately stuck with a little bit of battling with this Subaru WRX driven by Yoda, and he's got the inside for the long turn 8. I just squeeze into the back of him just there. I've got a big lick of slipstream now. I'm really firmly in the slipstream of the WRX, who just defends ever so slightly to the inside for long enough that I can't quite get the car up the inside the way I'd like. So we're just losing touch with Tez a little bit, which is obviously no good. We're going to fast forward down the straight because everyone in the slipstream up ahead is going to drive away. I'm pretty sure the WRX a little bit better under slipstream compared to the Megane Trophy, and in fact Tez has dropped behind the regular Megane. Obviously the regular Megane FF car, much better straight line speed, so I think he's just driven straight past Tez down the main straight. Red One gets a move done at the hairpin. I think I ran into the back of the WRX and needed to take evasive action there, and Red One just completely capitalised on that. He's unfortunately got a little bit of lag, so the lag was quite concerning to me at the moment because I knew that Red One wasn't exactly presented on my screen exactly where he was on the track, actually, in actuality. So I've got to be really careful racing against Red One because, you know, there's a couple of things that can go wrong when you're battling somebody with a load of lag, because they can lag punt you, or you can lag punt them because you go into a gap when they're actually in, but because of the lag they're not presented on the screen exactly where they actually are. Red One taking a little bit of a defensive manoeuvre into turn 1, probably just to put me off, and he's done exactly that. I don't quite get the best of turn 1s that I really needed, so Red One is just streaking away. He's getting closer to Tez. He's now been overtaken by Yoda in the WRX, so the WRX four-wheel drive car is probably going to be pretty strong at the start of the race, but the Alfa Romeo is going to be better in this handling section compared to the WRX, as Red One sends it up the inside of Tez, knocks him wide, and I take advantage of that one. So Tez has now dropped 3 positions in the matter of a couple of laps. He was up in 3rd, and now he's lost 4, he's lost 4 positions now, down into 7th, so he will really not be too happy with that. Red One just flashing the hazards, probably worth a redress, that particular manoeuvre there. Flash the hazards isn't really, it doesn't really undo any misdemeanors, it just is an acknowledgement of it. You've got to actually do the action to follow up on it, but I guess Red One was probably struggling with the lag. Also, probably Tez wasn't presented on Red One's screen exactly as he was on track, so it may have got a little bit awkward there. It's my turn to do a little bit of a defensive movement, coming towards the braking zone for turn 1, just to put Red One off, but I think he gets his apex just about okay, and we've remained a similar distance behind Red One at this stage, so we're still looking to get this move done. Coming into turn 3, got to be really careful not to brake too late in the slipstream. I think Yoda's falling off the back of Meta 7 a little bit, so Meta 7 in that regular Megane is going to be quite strong at the start of the race, and that FF car has the full tyre life available to it, but its tyre wear will drop off exponentially like a stone and will easily go far below the level of tyre wear that's going to be experienced by just about any other car on the grid, and that's true for any race really. An FF car is always going to drop off the pace, unlike anything else We're going to have a look at Ridwan at the final turn, see if we can get anything done. But I think he goes in a bit deep and he locks up ever so slightly with all the front bias you need to run in that Alfa Romeo. And we just squeeze him onto the apex of the final turn to just cement ourselves up in a 5th. And we've just capitalised on Ridwan's little error there. I knew that Ridwan would probably come back at me and cause me a little bit of an issue. So I move across to the right, just give Tez the slipstream, just so he can get that side-by-side little move down the straight done. I wanted a car between myself and Ridwan because Ridwan I knew would fight me quite hard. I know it's in Tez's best interest to try and work with me to move forward. So that's what we're going to aim to do. I know that we're faster than the WRX directly ahead of us, so we gained a load of ground under braking, and that WRX will drop off the pace ever so slightly compared to this McGann Trophy and the 4C, as demonstrated by the braking into the hairpin. So we run into the back of him on the middle of the corner, so we're clearly faster than this WRX. That the Subaru, of course, is a 4-wheel drive car, so it's going to be understeering a little bit more than this rear-wheel drive McGann Trophy and the rear-wheel drive with the mid-engine that the 4C has. We're getting closer and closer, heading up towards the final turn. We are going to look to the inside for this move, braking as late as we dare. Tez is going to try and follow us through, gets a little bit argy-bargy between the pair behind, but Tez has the inside and is able to muscle his way past Yoda, and we've now been released then to try and catch down, to try and chase down Meta 7 in his Renault Megane Group 4. It took a little while, and I knew it would take a while, because what we really needed was to wait for that Megane, the FF Megane driven by Meta 7, to drop off in terms of pace. I needed its tyres to just wear down further and further, and we needed to get deeper into the race for the car to indeed do that. But it took a few laps. We finally caught at least within the slipstream range of Meta 7. But as a wise man once said, it's one thing to catch, but another thing to overtake, and that is indeed very, very true in this situation, because we find ourselves with an interesting dynamic, Tez and I, against Meta 7. Meta 7's gone for an unconventional car choice, which of course he's completely allowed and entitled to do if he so wishes, but it just means that us handling cars, driven by myself and Tez, find ourselves behind a little bit of a cork in the bottle. By far the best type of car around Autopolis Shortcut, which is the track we're on today, are the handling cars. So cars like the Subaru WRX, Renault Sport Megane Trophy, Alfa Romeo 4C, Mitsubishi Lancer. Those kind of cars got to be the ones that you want to drive. But the key thing about all of those cars are they're much better in the corners than they are down the straights, which is good in time trial because, you know, you make up all the time you lose on the straight in the corners and then some, which is why they're the fastest. But if you put a power car...
It's gonna be hard, this.
But if you put a power car in the fray with a load of handling cars, what tends to happen is that the power car streaks out away down the straight, the handling car can't keep up even with the tow, and then when you get to the corners, you just end up getting stuck behind. It's much easier to overtake from having straight line speed down the straight than it is from having extra grip and manoeuvrability in the corners, because what can happen, as we're going to see here, is Meta 7's just going to park on the apex, and there's just absolutely zero chance of myself getting past. So he has to brake really early into the hairpin, and look, I think I've tapped him about 3 times, just having a overall better grip on the apex, a better ability to have a larger apex speed maintained than Meta 7 can, simply because he's got so much more tyre wear in that front engine, front wheel drive Renault Megane. So we've got an interesting little dilemma here. I've got to try and get past Meta 7 at the correct opportunity on the track. We're going to see on this particular tour down the main straight that despite me being within 0.2 of slip, Meta 7 is just going to drive away from me, moves to the left ever so slightly just to break the toe a little bit, but that gap has opened up to about a tenth larger than it was when we went onto the straight. So even with the slipstream, Meta 7 doesn't have slipstream, remember, and even with the slipstream, there's nothing I can do in terms of a move at turn 1, which would probably be the best place to do it. The second best place, oh, he brakes really early into there, and I'll just completely run into the back of him.
Whoa! On the brakes very early.
quite surprised by the early break. I was sort of taken by surprise. But Meta 7 once again just stopping the car exactly where he needs to, and I'm not able to use the handling, the superior handling characteristics of this car to try and get past Meta 7. My best opportunity to get past, or the best place to get past, would probably be turn 3, but because there's a straight leading up to it, Meta 7 can get a big enough of a gap so I can't go for the move. I almost get a little bit side by side through the final turn, but Meta 7 just squeezes me on the apex, says, no, you're not going through there, mate. And exactly that has occurred. I'm not going through there. And just off the back of that, now I'm about 3/10 off the back of Meta 7, because he obviously has the better straight line speed. Heading into turn 1, we get a decent turn 1. Meta 7 doesn't get quite the best turn 1, and we're actually gaining at this particular stage, but then halfway down the straight, that gap begins to open up. There's nothing I can do in terms of a move at turn 3, and I can imagine Tez behind me is probably getting very, very frustrated because he wants to move forward. In fact, both Tez and I easily had the pace to be fighting way up the front with GTR. Meta 7 just fighting off my attempt to try and go for a last-ditch effort move at the hairpin, because that's the best place I can get past. I needed to really get past at the hairpin to give myself the opportunity of a couple more corners afterwards to streak out a gap away from Meta 7 so he doesn't come back at me on the straight. But we're now back onto a power section of the track, and there's not much I can do except for rev the McGann trophy to its absolute limits. Tez trying to attempt to move around the outside of me, because I would imagine he'd be quite frustrated. And heading out of the final turn, Meta 7 has successfully defended this podium paying position of 3rd, and I actually think that was a very good race, to be fair, and an excellent defense by Meta 7.
Oh, I couldn't do it. Oh, that was actually a good race, to be fair. I had race winning pace, but I got stuck in a battle. It's just the way it goes, isn't it?
So a bit of a debrief to have there, but I think overall, I think that was actually a very decent race, to be honest. Very good battle with Meta 7 at the end, 241 points. I'll take that any day of the week. So I sat on that result, and that was the end of it. Tez was a bit frustrated. In fact, he was actually trying to get past me in the last couple of laps because he wanted to have a go at Meta 7 himself. He probably takes a little bit more of an aggressive driving style when it comes to making moves, so maybe he could have got something done, but I wanted to get it done properly, and I wasn't able to do it. I tried something at the hairpin on the final lap, but Meta 7 just put his car in front of me, and there was nothing I could do. So we do have to settle with 4th. Congratulations to GTR for winning the 2nd slot, and congratulations to Amazing Hour for winning the 1st slot. But that's going to finish up this video today. There's not really much else to discuss, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos and streams from me. Do leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, and constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.